Good evening and welcome to Sunset News this Monday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather and sports. I am Diana Master. In the news tonight, 3 schools in the flood-prone Kabe South area of the Zambezi region have been relocated after rising water levels forced their closure, disrupting learning for weeks. Office of the Prime Minister spokesperson Maximus Halwodi said the decision follows a stakeholder engagement convened last week, which resolved that learners from Nankutwe, Mpukano and Muzi schools be temporarily accommodated at Shookmansburg Combined School in the Luhonono area and Lusese Combined School. The relocation aims to ensure learners resume normal academic activities after losing an estimated 2 to 3 weeks of teaching time due to flooding. Regional officials are also planning catch-up or holiday classes to help learners recover missed lessons. The intervention is expected to stabilize schooling in the affected areas, while longer-term solutions to recurring flood disruptions are explored. Meanwhile, many Namibian farmers in the south of the country are delighted after being blessed with abundant rain over the Easter weekend. The Fish River is flowing in full force, including through the section known as the Fish River Canyon, offering many visitors and tourists a breathtaking sight. In addition to the Fish River Canyon, the flares on the Sandhof farm are underwater and the lily fields are beginning to show their pink hues once again. Furthermore, the country's largest freshwater reservoir, the Neckartal Dam, overflowed on Saturday due to the high inflow. Now, the roads between Helmingringhausen and Aarhus have partly turned into fast-flowing rivers. The Konkeep and Chautab rivers have burst their banks, blocking various roads to popular tourist destinations. Some gravel roads, particularly in the area around Sossusvlei, have been washed away, with the D463 road from Fish River Lodge to Witputs being impassable since yesterday. The D459 and D462 also remain closed for the time being. The rainfall figures reported yesterday on Rainfall Namibia for the south are 59 millimeters at Umu Branch, 30 kilometers north of Bethany, 46 millimeters at Manubi Farm, 35 kilometers north of Coes, and the Gotterus Farm, 40 kilometers north of Coes, 40 millimeters at Valpan Farm, 50 kilometers southeast of Coes, 36 millimeters at Nuverus Farm, 63 kilometers north of Coes, 32 millimeters at Sotdoringvlei Farm, 35 kilometers southeast of Helmeringhausen, and 14 millimeters in Maltaheer. Meanwhile, water levels in the northeast of the country remain high, which is having a significant impact on communities along the Zambezi River in particular. Pupils from 3 schools in the flood-affected area of Kabe South in the Zambezi region have been relocated after rising water levels forced the schools to close. According to the Minister of the Prime Minister's Office, Maximus Halwodi, it was decided that the affected pupils should be accommodated in other schools in the region. Halwodi explained that the relocation was intended to ensure that the pupils could resume normal lessons without further delay. Getting into our next story, tributes have poured in from across the political spectrum following the sudden passing of former Otjozondjupa governor and SWAPO member of parliament James Werikwa, who died in a motor vehicle accident last Friday along with his son. President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah extended the nation's deepest condolences to Werikwa's family, his SWAPO comrades, colleagues in the National Assembly, and all who worked alongside him. This is a painful loss not only to his family and the SWAPO party, but to the nation at large. Honorable Werikwa was a young and promising leader, a brilliant mind, and a very well-spoken voice in our national discourse. At a time when our country faces complex challenges, we have lost a bright light far too soon, Nandi-Ndaitwah was quoted as saying. She also wished a full and speedy recovery to the survivors of the crash. Prime Minister Dr. Elijah Ngurare described the news as incredibly heart-wrenching, recalling that they had parted ways just days earlier in Parliament. You had so much to live for and so much to contribute to Namibia. You have gone too soon, my brother and comrade. My deepest condolences to your bereaved family, he wrote. Fellow SWAPO MP Toby Alpindi said his heart was shattered by the loss. I've lost not just a colleague, but a dear friend and a brother. He was more than a leader. He was a kind soul, a pillar of strength, and a man whose humility and love for people defined his life, Aupindi said. Opposition leaders also mourned Werikwa. McHenry Vanani of the Popular Democratic Movement called his death a national colossal loss, saying, "May you rest softly unto the bosom of your Creator, sad to process your demise, fondest of memories, Independent Patriots for Change lawmaker and leader of the official opposition in Parliament, Emmanuel Nashinge, paid tribute in a heartfelt statement. It is with profound sadness that we receive the sad news of the sudden passing of our dear colleague, Honorable James Werikwa. Honorable James left us far too soon. He was still in his prime, still full of purpose, and still had so much to give to this country and its people. His dedication to Namibia was unwavering, and his presence in the National Assembly will leave a void that cannot easily be filled." He added, "A tree does not forget the soil that nourished its roots. We will not forget you, Unomasa. Namibia will not forget you. Your spirit remains with this nation in every law passed, every community uplifted, every life you touched." Speaker of the National Assembly, Sarah Gugengelo Amadila, visited the bereaved family on behalf of the legislature, praising Werikwa as a towering political figure despite his youthful age. She highlighted his loyalty, modesty, passion, and dedicated service to both his family and the country. The legislature joins the people of Namibia in mourning the profound loss of a historic figure whose passing is not only a blow to his immediate family, but also to the National Assembly and the broader public, she said, noting that the outpouring of condolences reflected the deep respect he commanded across the nation. Werikwa, 43, who served as chairperson of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on International Relations, Defence and Security, and represented Namibia at the Interparliamentary Union, transitioned to the National Assembly in March of 2025 after previously serving as Otjozondjupa governor. Otjozondjupa Police Regional Commissioner Philip Nuleipo Hidengwa told Namibian Sun yesterday that survivors in the crash, who include Werikwa's wife and other kids, were all transferred to hospitals in Windhoek. "For now, I do not know what their condition looks like, but yesterday when we were informed, we were told that the recovery process was going fine," he said. Now, the government has agreed to pay $5 million Namibian to a Katutura resident who sued the state over a botched surgical procedure in which doctors allegedly removed the wrong kidney, leaving him dependent on hemodialysis 3 times a week for the rest of his life. The out-of-court settlement signed on the 30th of March 2026 brings to a close a high-stakes $40 million Namibian medical negligence claim that had been filed in the High Court. The state has undertaken to pay the amount within 90 days into the trust account of lawyer Norman Chombe, who is representing patient Lucius Konjeni. Court documents reveal that the incident occurred on the 29th of July 2025. Konjeni claimed that he was admitted to Windhoek Central Hospital for comprehensive medical assessment, including physical exams, blood tests, and imaging, which would inform appropriate treatment. Instead, he alleged hospital staff failed to carry out proper diagnostic procedures and performed a radical nephrectomy on his healthy left kidney rather than the diseased right kidney. Konjeni said he was only informed several days after the operation that the wrong kidney had been removed. The consequences, according to Konjeni, were immediate and devastating. His remaining kidney has minimal functionality, leaving him dependent on hemodialysis 3 times a week for the rest of his life. He was hospitalized until the 30th of September 2025 and continues to endure severe physical pain, emotional trauma, and significant disruption to his daily life. Beyond the $5 million Namibian payout, the settlement agreement compels the government to continue providing medical treatment to Konjeni at state facilities. Where necessary, the state will also cover the cost of renal dialysis at a private facility, subject to medical recommendation. The government has further agreed to pay Konjeni's legal costs, effectively ending the matter without proceeding to trial. In his original particulars of claim, Konjeni had sought $1 million Namibian for loss of future income and $20 million Namibian in general damages, citing severe pain pain, permanent disability, emotional trauma, and diminished earning capacity. He further advanced a constitutional damages claim of 20 million Namibian dollars, arguing that the alleged negligence violated his fundamental rights, including the right to life, the right to human dignity, and the right to pursue a livelihood. The lawsuit was framed on multiple legal grounds, including breach of contract and delict negligence, with the state accused of failing to properly assess his condition and safeguard him while under medical care. Conjeni's claims were based on breach of contract, delict negligence, and constitutional infringement, arguing that the government and its employees failed in their duty of care by not conducting proper medical assessments, failing to safeguard him during treatment, and performing the wrong surgical procedure. Getting into our next story, frustration is growing among the residents of Okahanja, who complain that since Mayor Eleni Mutumbulwa took office on the 12th of December 2025, there has been no progress in resolving the community's pressing problems, such as the state of the town's roads, hazardous dumping sites, and the overflowing sewage systems. Network Media Hub visited several informal settlements in the town, where residents expressed their deep disappointment at the mayor's lack of leadership and communication. Residents complained that no community meetings have been held, particularly in informal settlements where living conditions remain dire. They say they have been offered no platform to engage with the mayor or raise their concerns. Social commentator Jacob Narmab also highlighted persistent shortcomings in public services on social media, including deteriorating road conditions with potholes, blocked and overflowing sewage systems, persistent foul odors in residential areas, and non-functioning street lighting, which exposes communities to danger at night. These are not few problems, but they are problems you have committed to solving, he emphasized. Leadership is not a title, but a responsibility. Silence and inaction in the face of these challenges is unacceptable. Residents stress that problems such as rubbish accumulation, sewage leaks, and the deterioration of infrastructure have worsened in recent years. Promises such as waiving water bills for pensioners have not been kept, whereas this has certainly happened in other towns. NMH's efforts to gain access to the mayor's calendar of events proved just as unsuccessful as attempts to contact the mayor herself. Inquiries to the city administration regarding the mayor's planned engagements or initiatives for public participation remain unanswered. And now bringing us to the end of our top stories, after his application was rejected by the Windhoek High Court in Windhoek, the Registrar of Medical Aid Funds also failed on appeal. Last Thursday, the Supreme Court dismissed a second attempt to dissolve the Heritage Health Medical Aid Fund. The registrar had applied to have the fund dissolved, but the High Court had already rejected the request in April of 2023. Judge Herman Oosthuizen noted that the registrar's actions went far beyond his mandate to regulate and promote medical aid institutions. Unreasonable directives issued in 2019, administrative sanctions, and public notices had undermined the fund's ability to operate economically and recover from financial difficulties. The Supreme Court confirmed that closing the fund would harm its members. It also found that the registrar had contributed to the financial crisis by blocking necessary contribution increases while still expecting the fund to remain solvent. Instead of ordering liquidation, the court directed that the fund be given the opportunity to stabilize. Within 30 days, it must submit revised proposals for contributions and benefits, including retroactive adjustments back to 2019. The registrar had repeatedly argued that the fund was financially unstable and failed to meet regulatory requirements. He cited low membership growth and projected administrative and non-health related expenses that did not align with past trends. In addition, changes to contributions and benefits for 2019 and 2020 had been implemented without approval. This could result in reimbursements exceeding 3 million Namibian dollars, penalties of more than 1.7 million Namibian dollars, and legal costs of over 520,000 Namibian dollars, not including the costs of the appeal. The registrar also questioned the long-term viability of the fund. Had the appeal failed, the net deficit would have exceeded 3.3 million Namibian dollars, rendering the fund technically insolvent. Even if successful, sustainability remained uncertain due to the fund's demographic profile and exposure to high-risk cases. The fund rejected these allegations. It primarily serves older members who would be excluded from other medical aid institutions due to age limits. At the time of the application, inception, the fund had 367 principal members and 106 adult dependents, totaling 473 members of the age of 55. Benefits fully reimbursed without co-payments, unlike other funds that limit coverage and require members to pay the difference themselves. Both courts found that the registrar's own decisions and significantly contributed to the fund's financial situation. After removing a cost control mechanism in 2019, it refused necessary contribution increases and failed to account adequately for inflation. And that brings us to the end of our top stories. After the break, we bring you our story of the day.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises, from artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative Sport Tourism.
Getting into our story of the day, Swakopmund Mayor Swama Kautondokwa recently officially introduced the $2 million Namibian Ovaherero genocide statue, which will be erected at the cemetery entrance, marking the start of the project. The introduction signaled the municipality's support for the initiative, which is intended to serve as a memorial, an educational installation, and a tourist attraction. Project creator Asar Karita said the site currently consists of a blank boundary wall with dunes in the background, despite its historical significance. There's also an important gravesite here, but people will be wondering what this place is for and who is buried there, yet there is nothing actually depicting the full story, he said. The Genocide Committee approached the municipality with a concept to change the whole face of that particular place and to create a site that tells the story to the people visiting Swakopmund. Karita noted that the cemetery is located in a high-income suburb, making quality and presentation particularly important. He acknowledged that the genocide remains a sensitive issue for the Ovaherero and Nama communities, as well as the German community, and said the project is grounded in reconciliation rather than confrontation. Stay with us. Right after this, we bring you our economic news. Tonight in economic news, the National Housing Enterprise has announced that construction on 79 new housing units in Walvis Bay has progressed rapidly over the past 3 months and is now nearing completion. Several houses have already been completed, while others are receiving final touches, including painting, electrical work, plumbing, and the installation of fittings and fixtures. The project involves 16 contractors and has created approximately 120 jobs for local workers. With an estimated budget of 17 million Namibian dollars, the development is now 80% complete, bringing the community closer to much-needed modern housing. NHE officials say the project highlights their ongoing commitment to providing quality homes for Namibians and supporting local employment through large-scale housing initiatives. That brings us to the end of our economic news segment. Now let's take a look at our economic indicators. The Namibian dollar trades at 22.34 against the British pound, 19.52 against the euro, 16.94 to the US dollar, and 2 Namibian dollars and 46 cents buys you 1 Chinese yuan. Looking at commodities, gold and platinum on an upturn of 1.50 and 0.48% respectively, while copper and Brent crude oil took a dip of 0.88 and 2.60% respectively. That brings us to the end of our economic news segment. Right after this, we bring you the latest in international news. Stay with Sunset News. Tonight in international news, as the war in the Middle East continues to drive up fuel prices, the Zambian government has called the current fuel supply situation an emergency. Although they are thousands of kilometers away from the front line, residents in the country say they're feeling the impact of supply disruptions linked to Iran's effective blockade of the Strait of Hormuz shipping line. Frederick Nabuzoka, a local resident, said, "You have to spend some time on looking for fuel. The war should come to an end, and then, only then, will fuel supply flow." And Zambia is not the only country impacted on the African continent. Johnstone Chikwanda, a Zambian energy expert, said, "The energy insecurity is huge. It's not just for Zambia, it's about 75% of other African countries. And for Zambia, the price definitely is also going to swing up, just like other countries. And also, there is another fear apart from just the price going up. The other fear is the availability factor." Late March, the cabinet approved a zero rating of value-added tax and the halting of excise duty on petrol and diesel imports for a period of 3 months. That's it for our international news segment. Now let's take a look at the weather predictions. Vento can expect some showers and maximum temperatures of 27 degrees Celsius and minimum temperatures of 16 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, Ruacana can expect partly cloudy conditions. Maximum temperatures will be at 33 degrees Celsius and minimum temperatures will be at 17 degrees Celsius. Looking over at the coast, mostly showers in Swakopmund. Maximum temperatures will be at 18 degrees Celsius. Minimum temperatures will be at 16 degrees Celsius. Oranjemund, on the other hand, is bright and sunny. Maximum temperatures will be at 30 degrees Celsius and minimum temperatures will be at 13 degrees Celsius. And now, let's get into our sports news. Irongo Region lifted the 2026 Nedbank Namibian Newspaper Cup after a thrilling 2-1 extra time win over defending champions Kunene in Keetmanshoop in a fiercely contested football final. Kunene took the lead through Michael Nyefikepunye in the first half. Irongo, however, fought back with Hashid Naubeb, scoring a crucial late equalizer to force the game into extra time. With momentum on their side, Irongo capitalized when a Kunene own goal in the second half of extra time secured their comeback and the national title. Naubeb was named player of the match for his decisive performance. The game was very intense and tough, but we fought until the end. He said host Karas Region claimed the bronze medal after a 3-1 victory over Omaheke, with Herman Shimetweleni earning player of the match honors. Early in the knockout stages, Kunene advanced to the final after defeating Karas 4-3 on penalties following a goalless draw, while Irongo reached the final with a narrow 1-0 win over Omaheke thanks to a goal from Kauvepukua Kaudhu. Kunene had also overcome Hardab 2-1 in the quarterfinals. Now in the netball competition, Kavango East continued their dominance by winning a third consecutive title, defeating Commerce 35-28 in the final. Goal attacker Esther Kapinga earned a player of the match honors for her standout performance. And with that, we have come to the end of the broadcast. I am Diana Master, and this has been Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.